Chapter 4, The Sharpest Lives Are the Deadliest to Lead. Karami took in the sight of the body on the ground, completely shocked. She knew she had to get the others immediately. Turning on her heels, she bolted out into the hallway, spotting Captain leading Karamatsu out of his room and toward the dining hall. When Captain saw the panicked look on Karami's face, he paused. What's wrong? Would Mr. Shocking not wake up? Captain didn't understand her distress. Captain, come here. Right now. It's an emergency. Mr. Shocking is dead. Karami told him, a pained look in her eyes. What? Tell me you're joking. Captain rushed past Karami and into Mr. Shocking's room. Curiously, Karamatsu followed him. The two of them arrived at the scene, able to see that Mr. Shocking was indeed on the ground just beside his bed, in a mess of blood. Yes, I'd say he's quite dead, Karamatsu remarked. A moment later, an announcement played over the intercom. Attention, everyone. A body has been discovered in Mr. Shocking's room. There will now be a period of time for an investigation. Following the investigation, I will issue another announcement and take everyone to the courtroom. Good luck. It took only a minute or two for the rest of the group to pile inside of Mr. Shocking's room and take a look at the scene. There was a collective disbelief for many of the participants in the game, though some didn't look terribly surprised. Well, if someone had to go, let's be glad it was him, Blue remarked. Try not to sound too happy. Mafia muttered. I didn't say that I was. Blue shook his head. This is still a tragedy. What's even worse is that one of us did it. Kay looked around the room. I don't want to think that one of us did it. Maybe Mononoko killed him. Carla shielded his eyes from the body, feeling as though he were going to be sick from the stench of blood. No, it was one of us. Beelzebub insisted. You sound quite sure of that. Is that not suspicious? Would it be so far-fetched as to say that you know it was one of us because you were the one who committed the murder? Is that guilt that I see in your eyes, is it? Karamatsu-san stepped toward Beelzebub, a fury in his eyes. Dreaded Prince of Hell, was it you who has committed this most grave sin? Hold on, save it for the trial. Karami stepped forward. We don't have time to point fingers yet. We need to first figure out what we're looking at. We're looking at a dead body. Galauz said bluntly. I mean we need to investigate the scene. Karami clarified. Not all 14 of us can investigate, it'll get too crowded. And what if the murderer tampers with the crime scene? Monroe spoke up. We should assign tasks to people. Karami decided. First and foremost, we should have 2 people guard the scene to make sure nobody messes with the evidence. I volunteer myself for that role. It would be my honor to preserve the state of things and allow for a clean and simple investigation. Captain offered himself up. How do we know that you're not volunteering so you can mess with the scene? You could be the murderer. Galauz pointed out. Then I'll guard it with him. Does that put everyone's fears at rest? Karami suggested. You two are the most straight-laced out of the bunch of us. Yes, that should suffice. Galauz nodded. Now, who should lead the investigation? Karami looked around. Allow me to scour the scene and dig up all of the relevant evidence. Haratsuka-san raised his hand. Can we have someone else investigate? Carla asked nervously. Not me, though. Do I have to be in here? Teru sniffled, covering his nose. The smell is making me feel kind of sick. I don't feel very good. Carla, will you take Teru to the dining hall? Maybe you two ought to have a cup of tea to calm down. Karami told him. I'll go with them. This is too much for me. Hanaya-san quickly joined Carla and Teru as they left the room. I don't want to get blood on my clothes. I trust that the rest of you can handle the investigation, surely. I'm no detective anyway. Simply present the evidence to me at the trial. Monroe backed away. I'll help investigate. Mafia sighed. Seems like not much will get done around here if I don't. I'll leave it to you, then. Al turned and left the room. See you all at the trial. I'll oversee the investigation just so I know what happened, but I don't really feel compelled to help, frankly. Beelzebub shrugged. You should feel compelled to help. We all die if we don't find the killer. Karami reminded him. That's why I'll watch over things. I just don't think I should have to get my hands dirty. Beelzebub shrugged. You, Kay. Mafia gestured toward Kay. You look at least a little competent. Come help me move the body. We're moving the body? Kay grimaced as he stepped toward the corpse. We need to look at the wounds. I can't see shit when all his coats and clothes are covering his body. Did he seriously sleep in this getup? Mafia crouched down next to the body. Did he not own pajamas or something? Galauz raised a brow. No, I think he was just crazy. Blue shook his head. All right, Kay. On the count of 3, we flip over the body. 1, 2, 3. Mafia reached down and grabbed one of Mr. Shocking's arms while Kay grabbed the other. On his count, they grabbed Mr. Shocking and flipped him over. As they did, they were able to see that he was covered in multiple stab wounds. More strange than that, however, was the presence of the knives still in the wounds. Not only that, but the knives were attached to something. What? What the hell? Kei's eyes widened. Well, we know how he died now. Mafia watched as a knife fell loose and dropped onto the carpet. The one in his neck is probably the one that did him in, but none of these look pretty. Why did they use multiple knives, though? Wouldn't one do the trick? Blue stepped closer and looked. Not only that, but what are the knives attached to? Bricks? Kei reached down and picked one up. It was stiff, but not heavy. It was about the size of a brick, and a knife was stuck into it with the sharp side jutting out. What the hell is this? Oh, I recognize that, I think. Allow me to take a closer look. Karamatsu leaned in and picked up one of the bricks. He pinched the corner and was able to break this off. Yes, I know what this is. It's planter's foam. What's that? Kei grimaced when he noticed a bit of blood had gotten onto his hand. It's a sort of substance used for flower arrangements. It's like styrofoam, in a way. Karamatsu explained. It seems that the killer put the knives into the planter's foam. How strange. That's really weird. Where would they even get planter's foam? Kei wondered. The garden, I'd imagine. Mafia remarked. That makes the most sense, at least. If not there, then the art room, maybe. Haratsuka-san, will you go to the garden and see if there's planter's foam there? If there is, look around and see if you find anything else suspicious. Karamatsu made his request. Yes, of course. I will see to it, Postist. You can count on me to navigate the waters of deception and happen upon the islands of truth, for I am but a noble sailor traversing the high seas of mystery. I will let my heart guide the way as I delve into the curiosities that surround us. Haratsuka-san made a show of things as he excused himself from the room. Thank God, you got him out of here. Kei murmured. I thought that might be helpful. Karamatsu smiled simply. He's not that bad, though. I find his passion to be endearing. You're the only one. Mafia said bluntly. Okay, so we've got some knives in planter's foam. Let me inspect the body and see if there's anything else we should know. You don't feel weird touching a corpse? Kei stepped back a bit. After the 10th one or so, you get kind of numb to it. Mafia shrugged. He knelt down and started to take a closer look at Mr. Shocking's body. These stab wounds are pretty deep. It's no wonder they killed him. There appear to be 5 of them in total. Are there 5 knives here at the scene? Kei did a quick count. As he did, he saw Blue picking up one of the knives. If you're trying to steal that right now, I'm going to be so pissed. Kei said flatly. I would never. This is valuable evidence. Blue set the knife back down. Yeah, sure. Kei finished counting the knives. Yeah, there's 5 knives. 5 blocks of foam, too. Okay, so the weapon wasn't taken from the scene. Got it. Let's see here. Mafia patted down the body and took care to evaluate as much as he could. Here's something weird. What is it? Karamatsu looked to see what Mafia was talking about. There's red marks on his ankles. Look. Mafia pointed to Mr. Shocking's ankles. Normally they were covered by his boots, but his corpse was barefoot. Just as Mafia said, there were red marks around both ankles. What does that mean, then? Karamatsu asked. It's too soon for me to answer that. Mafia shook his head. We've got to keep looking around. Hey, is it just me or are the carpets really clean? I mean, aside from the bloodstain. Kei glanced around. It looks like someone just vacuumed or something. Yes, it would seem so. Perhaps the killer wanted to remove any trace of their presence? They may have gotten hair on the scene. Blue pointed out. Almost all of us have the same hair, though. Kei furrowed his brow. Almost. Monroe and Karami have blue hair, and Mr. Shocking had red hair. Mafia glanced at Karami. Don't look at me like that. Do you really think I did this? Karami crossed her arms. Who's to say? I can't trust anyone in this building. Mafia muttered. Okay, so someone cleaned the carpets. Guess they couldn't clean the bloodstain, of course. Kei commented. Is there anything under the bed or in the drawers? Karamatsu asked. Let me look. Kei moved to look under the bed while Mafia investigated the nightstand. In the top drawer, Mafia found a piece of rope. He held it up, showing it to everyone present. There's some rope in here. It's cut at both ends, but there's a knot here in the middle. Mafia pointed to what he was talking about. Both ends of the rope were frayed, as though they'd been cut. Just as he said, there was a knot in the middle of the piece of rope. Strange. What's that got to do with anything? Blue squinted at the rope. It's too soon to tell, maybe. I feel like it makes sense, I just need to think about it a little more. Mafia set the rope aside. Hey, Blue. Go look in the kitchen and tell me how many knives there are. More specifically, tell me how many are missing. The knife rack on the wall has a place for each knife, so you should be able to see any empty spaces. Look around the kitchen and see if anything else looks weird. Sure thing. I'll be back in just a minute. Blue flourished his cape before disappearing out of the room. Mafia stood up and looked over everything. There's not a lot to go off of. Mafia sighed. We can tell he died from a stabbing. Well, calling this a stabbing seems a bit odd to do. What do you mean? Kay asked. We can talk about it more during the trial. Doing it right now will just mean I'll have to repeat myself in front of everyone later. Mafia shook his head. What do we do now, then? Kay looked at the scene, grimacing when he got another look at Mr. Shocking's body. Seeing the gaping stab wounds was starting to make him nauseous. We need to hear back from Haratsuka-san in blue. Then, I might have a better idea of what's going on. Mafia clicked his tongue and sat on the edge of the bed. God, I could go for a smoke. Is it worth noticing that the bed isn't made? Kay pointed to the undone sheets. Why would it be? We're assuming he was sleeping when he was killed, right? Karamatsu mused. How'd he end up on the floor, then? If he got stabbed in his sleep, shouldn't he be in his bed still? Kay wondered aloud. Maybe. Something's weird about this, though. Mafia pursed his lips. Before he could say anything else, Haratsuka-san burst back into the room. I have returned with news. I journeyed far up to the 5th floor to take in the splendor of the garden. I explored every crevice of the facility in vivid detail so that nothing would elude my watchful eye. I followed my heart and let it carry me toward the truth on a whirlwind adventure. Haratsuka-san spoke with his usual deranged passion. Cut to the chase. Was there planter's foam in the shed? Mafia asked. Indeed, there was. Many blocks of it, might I add. It was as firm and steadfast as I am. In a way, I'm not unlike a block of planter's foam, am I not? Haratsuka-san started to ramble. Was there anything weird about the garden? Kay asked. Ah, yes. It might be worth nothing that there was a strange trail of white fur scattered throughout the garden. I found it in the shed as well as in other places. Quite strange, don't you think so? Haratsuka-san remarked. Not really. Wasn't Teru-Teru-Kara in the garden with Hanaya-san? Kay pointed out. I thought so, at least. Is that so? I still find it interesting, regardless. I think that every bit of information is just as valuable as the last, as they all complete the picture we're devoting our efforts to deciphering. I ask that we gaze upon this picture piece by piece, not overlooking even the most minute of details. It all adds up to the greater picture before us, does it not? Is it not all pertinent? Isn't every star in the night sky a part of the greater constellation? Haratsuka-san kept talking, though most people in the room stopped listening after a while. We just need to hear from Blue, then. Mafia talked even though Haratsuka-san was still going in the background. You called? Blue appeared, standing right behind Kay. Jesus. Kay jumped, not expecting someone to be standing directly behind him. No, it's Blue. Blue shook his head. Don't sneak up on me, please. Kay took a deep breath. My apologies. At any rate, I did what was asked of me and investigated the kitchen. 5 slots on the knife rack are empty, plus one was placed crooked in its slot. Blue explained. Nothing else seemed amiss in the kitchen. The only other things laying around were a stepladder and a bucket with a mop in it. Got it. All right, I guess that's all the info we needed from the kitchen. Mafia tapped his chin, appearing to be deep in thought. We'll need to convey everything to the group before we go to trial. Do you have any idea what happened? Kay asked Mafia. I've got some theories. Mafia murmured. Any culprits in mind? Karamatsu inquired. I'm not sure yet. I think I'll get a better idea when we all discuss it during the trial. This is a lot of information at once and I need time to think about it. Mafia stood up and stretched. I don't think there's anything else for us to discover, though. The scene is pretty straightforward, more or less. There's a few questions I have, but I figure talking them out will get me some answers. So, one of us really killed him. Kay took a deep breath, feeling nervous. Of course it was one of us. There's nobody else here. Mafia rolled his eyes. Did you really think we'd all get along? There's stakes here, kid. There's lives on the line. We all want out, and there's only one way to do it. It's just hard to believe that one of us killed someone. Kay sighed. You better get used to it. I doubt this will be the last murder, assuming we're able to catch the culprit this time and avoid dying. Mafia told him. Come on, let's go get everyone up to speed. Okay. Thanks for helping me investigate. Kay expressed his gratitude as they left the room. Don't thank me. I'm just trying not to die. Mafia muttered. Still. Kay took a deep breath and followed Mafia to the dining hall. There, they would tell everyone the results of their investigation. Then, it would be time for the trial to begin.